Manchester United 1, Newcastle 0. My question to you here, Darren, is how did Newcastle not win this game?
Yeah, agreed. I thought Newcastle actually played really well in this match, and just it was one moment of brilliance from
Great goal.
Patrick Dorgu. Yeah. The technique, the difficulty to bring that out the air and keep it low, hard enough to go through the players and score. I thought it was an outstanding finish. I thought he played really well, actually, Patrick Dorgu. I just think Manchester United, they're not back, but they're back to being a team that are grinding out results. And I think if you look at the difference between them this season to last season they couldn't get a victory. They'd have lost that game 10 out of 10 last season. This season they got the goal and managed to see that out. And I thought they're probably worthy winners in the end.
Well, they certainly can point to the players they had missing between suspensions, injuries, and AFCON duty. And by the end, when he started to bring on the very young players, it was an unrecognisable Manchester United team. And I suppose you can always argue, if you resist the pressure for 45 minutes, defending is an important part of the game. Back to Dorgu. I've never played on a professional football pitch, so you can tell me. If you asked him to do that in training and to think about it, I suspect it would be a very difficult skill to practice. But because it comes to him in a flash, in a moment, there's that intuitive skills that professional athletes have that I'm not party to, because he didn't have time to think about it. He just did the physical thing, and it was great.
Instinctive finishes are normally sounds strange, but normally the easiest finishes to do, because you're not thinking. As you said, if you try to do that, probably 100 out of 100 in training, you'd probably get it once, maybe twice. Although he did say, Patrick Dorgu, didn't he, in his interview at the end, that he's been practicing that in training. It's coming off all the time. And I see Aidan Heaven, who was next to him, I think, had a bright smirk on his face, as if you're lying there. So
yeah,
I think the instinctive finishes, Dan, are a lot easier than the ones that you go in one-on-one with the goalie. You've got time to think about it. Where can you place the ball? It come out the air, he hit it, and as you said, it was a fantastic finish.
Yeah, and Newcastle, though, will be scratching their heads and kicking themselves if you can do both those things at the same time over not getting at least a point. Let's move on to Chelsea 1, Aston Villa 2. Darren, you would not choose to do this the way Aston Villa are doing it, going behind in every away game and then coming back to win. The statistics tell you in the Premier League, if you concede the first goal, then you are not going to win those games over 80% of the time. It's critical, the first goal, yet they keep on doing it. I mean, it's an amazing run. Yeah. I can't even analyse how they're doing it, except that Unai Emery's a fantastic manager.
You know what? To say that they would be where they are now, realistically in a title challenge after the first 4 games where they hadn't scored a goal in those 4 games. And then I remember I was doing co-coms in the Brentford game in the League Cup, where they did score. Harvey Elliott hit a scruffy shot, went under Valdemarson, and it was what they needed. They lost that game on penalties. They went on to draw against Sunderland, then went on a 7-game winning streak, lost to Liverpool on the 1st of November, and then they've gone on this outrageous run of 11 winning. And I was on last night, as you know, with Rory Jennings, and big Chelsea fan, and he said never, and I agree with him, never has he seen a game won by a manager more so than the players themselves. I know, obviously, Ollie Watkins with 2 great finishes, or the first one a bit lucky, but a bit fortunate, but a great touch and a good finish in the end, and then the header. But Unai Emery changed that for them, and his words, and I agreed with him, it was like a novice in terms of Enzo Maresca against his master in terms of Unai Emery, because Unai Emery won that game. He see what the shortcomings were, the failings. He made the changes mid into the second half, where Chelsea were dominating, and then they went on to win, which they've done more often than not.
Yeah, Chelsea, of course, I mean, really talented squad of players. As I said to Andy Jacobs last week, I'm having this very odd feeling of quite liking a Chelsea squad and a Chelsea team. Yep. Not something I've had much during my life, but they got a valuable lesson there about tactics and flexibility in the game. We should go to a break, but because it's the management are all still on holiday, I'll say West Ham 0, Fulham 1. Simple question here. Darren, how desperate the situation of West Ham managed to work themselves into.
Yeah, desperate, Danny. And I think it's... When you're down, I've been down there in the league, in the Premier League, and it's so difficult. Even when you're trying your hardest, even when you're playing well, Oliver Scholes has come in, made the error towards the very end. And you could see the hurt, and you could see that he really cares, but nothing's going right. But it coincides really with Nuno Espirito Santo not playing an out-and-out number 9, and I don't understand. You've got Callum Wilson. Yes, there's a situation that he's denied in terms of his contract, pay as you play, but he was starting to score goals, and you're playing your best, most influential player out of position in Jarrod Bowen. I think that tells you everything you need to know about West Ham at the moment, and they need some serious help. And this man that we're seeing on the screen, I think West Ham could do with him in January. I think they need...
You're talking about Jimenez.
Jimenez. Raul Jimenez. They need a centre forward. Just so you can play Jarrod Bowen back in his rightful position.
And yet they're letting Nicholas Fulkrug go to AC Milan, if you don't mind, you know?
It's ridiculous. I see a stat, I think Sam Matterface said it. Since the last 56 forwards that West Ham have signed, only 2 of those have scored over 20 goals. And that's in their career at West Ham, not by season, in their career. That's where they're going wrong. The recruitment is not good enough.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, it's not over yet by a long, long way. Nor am I dancing on West Ham's grave prematurely. What I always do, Darren, when teams are down the bottom, I always ask myself the same question.
Yeah.
If they go down, how many of these players will people be looking to get off them, to steal from them, to predate and get from them? And if you take Jarrod Bowen out of the list, I'm not sure there's many of those players who Premier League teams be going, we could do with him. There's some experienced players in there, and then you've got people like Kilman who cost them a fortune, and it's just not half the player he was at Wolverhampton Wanderers.
That's the issue, Danny, that a lot of, and I've been there in teams, that a lot of players think that, well, it's all right if we go down, I'll get a move. I'll get a big move to a European club or a Premier League club. It doesn't always work like that. If you've been part of that team that have got you relegated, there's reasons for that. So a lot of these players have to have a long, hard look at themselves in January and see if they can produce something to get West Ham out of trouble.
Yeah, Fulham fans would want us to say it was a critical win for them as well. And Raul Jimenez is 34 years of age. But, if it hadn't been for that head injury, he would have been a regularly brilliant player in the Premier League, because he is a fantastically intelligent front player. Listen, the texts about Lego are
open a can of worms, Danny.
Please, that's my job, my friend. That's my job. Please keep the text coming. 81089. Anything you want to say, ask, or know about Lego from apparently the world's expert. He's got his own Lego channel on YouTube. 81089. And your sporting highlights of the year, however obscure. They can be literally, I beat my mum at table tennis on Christmas Day. 81089. Coming up next, we'll carry on reviewing the Premier League weekend and get some of these texts on. Thank you for listening to us here on talkSPORT. You'll listen to me, Danny Kelly, and him, Darren Ambrose.